Good evening, ETT members, colleagues, and friends. Thank you for joining this evening. It was intended to be a live event, but it's recorded, so at least the message will be there for you when you open it. And I certainly have received many emails and questions throughout the day, and this is very meaningful. It's good to be with you here, and I'd like to take the opportunity to ask how you are. I hope you're okay. These are different days, and I just wanted to talk about some of the recent unfoldings and information that we've been receiving and some of our responses to them. Right now, we are navigating a COVID-19 world where many forces and many energies are being called to coexist together at the same time with new layers of complexity and uncertainty. Many of us are with our families and with our own children, and with family members and perhaps partners that are working in different environments, whether they're hospital workers or essential service workers that are asked to be out there when we in fact are home and awaiting what's ahead, what lies ahead. So I wanted to take the time to connect with you face-to-face to bring some remarks and a message of courage and confidence and a reminder that ETT has your back right now, as we always do. Your concerns, your issues, and your questions are very important to us as we enter these uncharted waters. And, we're all in different situations. There may in fact be members, there may be some of us who are actually ill and are COVID positive right now, or caring for a parent or a family member who is. So we want to acknowledge that hardship and that difficulty and that challenge right now. Some of us might be partnered to healthcare workers or hospital workers, I mentioned. And in some of those cases, we're having to be in different living arrangements in order to be safer. And we want to recognize that some of our members are parents, single parents. Sometimes we're parents to very young children. And sometimes we're parents to children with very specific learning needs. And they require our constant support and attention. Some of us may be alone. And we may have particular restrictions and limitations, and maybe we're out without the accommodations and the supports we might regularly have because we're in our homes and we're asked to stay at home. Some of us might be parents to our own children who are adjusting, and we're singing with them, we're coloring with them, we're playing games with them, and just hoping that at the end of the day they're feeling grounded and that we're providing the things that we need for them. So ETT's been working diligently to address each release, each announcement, each memo with vigilance and with advocacy and analysis. Beyond that, we're making every effort to express our demands and set forth the expectations we have in facing this moment proactively and preemptively. Working conditions and learning conditions are inextricably linked, and we know that. That's the truth we've been fighting for in these months, and it's a truth that extends to where we are right now. So, will we be entering our buildings to access materials and technology? I know that's one question that many of us may have. And your health and safety is paramount above all else. And I'd like to point out the information we have from the City of Toronto. On Friday, you received a memo on the protocol for access to TDSB schools and administrative buildings. Research from health authorities was cited in the memo to inform that the establishment of the school entry protocol occurred with that analysis and research. However, the board is informing us that the choice to enter buildings is absolutely voluntary. We know that the City of Toronto Public Health put out a community setting and workplace issue and it updated its advisory on March 28th. And it reads that the government has ordered the mandatory closure of all non-essential workplaces as of March 24th, and that it is to extend for at least 14 days with possible extensions. And this includes playgrounds and schoolyards, and they have been yellow taped and they're off limits to the public as well. We know that as day by day and hour by hour, there are case increases in Toronto, and we are the hotspot in Ontario for cases, and we have yet to see a flattening of the curve in Toronto. We know there are scheduled visits for equipment pickup already via administrators, some administrators. Although these visits are to be greeted and spaced apart with disinfecting to areas before and after individual scheduled entries, we are aware that there's always an element of risk on surfaces, and there may be surfaces quickly touched that were unseen or unknown. We also know that there are sites where contractors are working or attending to emergencies at given times. So we may not always know what or where those surfaces are. Members who are immunocompromised would certainly be taking heightened measures to protect themselves. Each of us has the right to safe work and to comply actively with the dynamic public health advisories coming to us regularly and through the media each day. Please be safe, and please make choices for your own health, safety, and protection. And I repeat, you are not obliged to re-enter schools at this time. It would be only as desired by the staff member, you, the staff member, that buildings be re-entered for any equipment. Since the closure, we've met virtually as an ETT executive and have been discussing these and other items at the Elementary Concerns Committee with the board. I've participated in 3 teleconferences with TDSB Employee Services and with our director, John Malloy, including one meeting with John Malloy. These conversations have been positive, they've been constructive, and they're essential. Last Friday, you also received a memo from our director outlining steps for this week. In particular, this week, and what may be in the works for the continuation of learning with the extended closure beyond April 6th. We've learned that there will be announcements from the ministry tomorrow as to the outlook for phase 2 and to the continuation of learning across Ontario. As paid employees of the board, while at home since the closure was announced, our members were asked by the minister to be available. We have been and we are available. And we care very much about our students, families, and parent communities. We are parents, and our parents are our allies. They have been, and the relationships we've built with them throughout this year and throughout this strike transcend buildings and exist deeply through this pandemic. They have stood with us, and we stand with them. We have a common goal, and that is that our children will be okay, and that we will do what we can together. But we also recognize that we are living in a different dimension together as well, and not within the parameters necessarily of the safe and supported learning environment that can be prescribed and managed concretely, neither on the teacher's end or on the learner's end. So we cannot, and it is impossible to be subjected to those conditions or those expectations as we ordinarily are. Differentiation has been our modus operandus as good educators for some time. We know how important that is. It's the goal we never entirely achieve, but we all aspire to. But this is the key to going forward, and it not only applies to students, it applies to us, ironically. Equity does not look the same for everyone, especially in a COVID-19 landscape. Equity needs to be fully addressed around access, equipment, environment, and teaching and learning. We look to the board to address this fairly and to the ministry to facilitate this responsibly. As your union, ETT will advocate for this every step of the way so that our unfolding experience during this time is reasonable, equitable, and differentiated for us, for every teacher and every learner as needed. We will need unique things during this time. And we, the teachers, will make our demands clearly and succinctly in this unfolding. There are many more questions than answers today. And some of the considerations and some of the questions that have come up have been around our English as a second language students, our English language learners, and many of the parents who are non-English speakers. You know, principals we know have reached out to families in our schools, and next week there is an expectation that's been communicated that we would be reaching out to our families and the students of our families. And there is a piece where there is a language issue in many cases. There is a huge issue around equity for our special education students. How will they be accommodated? You know, beyond technology, beyond resources, beyond programs that they ordinarily would have to assist them. What about the modifications to the programs that they would ordinarily have through staffing, through supports and resources? And how will the mental health of our students be addressed? And how is our mental health being addressed given our experience in varying situations throughout this time? So I just want to point out that there were some questions that came up, and I'll go through some of them, around teaching online and how we will be able to engage in learning and teaching without any of the control of the conditions. Are we expected to write report cards? Some of these things are questions that have yet to be determined and communicated. We will be addressing those things as they may or may not arise. And as I mentioned earlier in our remarks, when we don't have control of the environment, it would be a great ask for that to occur. So these are the areas and the ways that we will be pushing back. We've had questions about our kindergarten learners and how they are very much hands-on learners. And how will we manage this? Could we have materials dropped off to families? Well, we know that there would be caution there because we know that the surfaces of objects that may be dropped off may present a challenge. That's another question that's come up. We have questions about equity around Rotaries and prep teachers, and how would that be managed if there was teaching and learning going on in a day-to-day basis. Next week, it appears that there's going to be some online professional development happening around a D2L platform and Brightspace. Things like that. Those are some of the thoughts and the ideas that have been surfacing in our discussions with the board. There is a sincere concern about availability of equipment. We are in communications with the board about these issues, and you just recently received today at 4 o'clock a memo where the board is initiating that query and probing that with parents directly. So that was something good to hear, that the board is taking that initiative, because certainly there's a lot for our members to be facing and deciphering in the upcoming week, as there'll be some learning in terms of platform, etc., coming forth. Apparently the minister will be announcing some things tomorrow, and we'll have a better sense of what will follow on April 6th and what our concerns may be and what pushback and demands we maybe have as a result. So I look forward to communicating with you after that time, and as we've put our minds to the things that come forth, and as we initiate and communicate with the board what should be needed. I have questions like this. Will we be expected to teach in real time or school hours, or will we be submitting assignments each day? Well, it is sounding like it will not be a typical school day as we know it. with the 300 minutes of instruction and 240 minutes of prep, that it would be more of apportioned based on consideration of what our contexts are going to be in our own homes. There is also a possibility that there could be videotaping ahead of time so that it isn't a live conference with students and so forth, but that it could be that assignments would be posted and there could be a check-in. It's sounding like it may be that there are fewer hours for primary students in a week, and as the age increases, you know, through to junior and intermediate, it may be up to 5 for junior and perhaps for 10 for intermediate. These are the kinds of things that may happen based on the conversations, the early conversations that we've had with the board. But again, there are many questions and nothing firm at this point about phase 2 beyond April 6th. Several questions about the primary, what might be the primary expectation. There was a question, will teachers be able to claim home office space and equipment, including laptops and technology as tax deductions? Well, there's a thought for Doug Ford, because certainly this is a very unique situation in terms of where we're working and what we're using. And we certainly know that there are questions about our own equipment and using our own equipment. One question here from a member is, we have a very old computer with no camera or mic. My partner is working from home and uses it most of the day, so I have limited access. I also don't have a data plan on my phone. This is a problem that needs to be solved, and we expect further information to come forth on how the board intends to resolve issues like this, and the ministry. Also, I'm wondering how this will work for Rotary teachers, music teachers, and gym teachers who teach the entire school. Do other school boards have this expectation for their teachers? So these are questions that we absolutely are bringing forward, and will be part of the deliberation and problem solving and initiating what we feel may be equitable, and pushing back when appropriate. I hope that Zoom makes the list on one of the platforms to use. I used it Saturday morning to connect with students and families, and it was very user-friendly. They've lifted their 40-minute time limit for school use. Will we have a choice of platforms to use? Well, indeed, that is a very good question, and I know for some of our ETT communications, we've been using Zoom. Will the board also publish a list of approved virtual portals of communication? Well, that's something that sounds useful. I will read a couple of more, and then I'll leave you, because this is much more meaningful when there's a live group of people on the other end. My question concerning social media platforms like Twitter: how do I protect my privacy if my school Twitter account wants to follow my private Twitter account and give access to students? In the past, we've been discouraged from interacting on social media platforms with students in this manner. Is it required of us now, and why? So, you know, we would advise that it would be wise to continue not to use personal platforms and profiles that could be accessed by students. And we know that, you know, our ETFO PRS recommendation is always to be cautious around those things. And so our advising would be to continue to be private around our own personal accounts, and that it would be any school-based platforms that are indicated by your administrator. You know, we are concerned because ordinarily we don't communicate virtually with our students, and it's something that we are putting minds to, because, you know, we're aware of, you know, our own vulnerabilities and liabilities, and that's something that's part of the discussions going forward as well. a number of questions around school access. Apparently there were lots of people who tried to register on Key to Learn and were not able to do so over the weekend because it was full and there wasn't an ability to access that. That is something that we will absolutely be communicating to the board, that this is a big issue. And as we move into the week, we know how frustrating that is when it is reporting time. So I'm going to pause there, but I would like you to know that I will make every effort to answer the questions that have come my way in the coming week and forward. Again, there were, I believe, about 300 that came in, so I'll chip away at them and do as many as I can, because I know what uncertain times these are, and I know what a challenge and how anxiety making this can be without certainty as to what things will look like going forward in our time at home with our families and our time connecting in some way with our students on an online platform. Again, I want to say thank you for your solidarity. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for paying attention to the things that we're sending out as quickly as we can. And we'll continue to keep in touch. You and your executive officers will be in communication as needed. And ETT is here, has your back, and caring deeply about your health and safety, your mental health and well-being in your homes. We care about our communities. You'll notice on the ETT website and in brieflies we've sent out that you know, we are in this together, and our communities, many homes are without the regular incomes that they would have, and people are needier than usual, and there may be homes where food is more scarce than it has been. And so we've been connecting with Food Share and donating as a local and as a federation, ATFO as well, to food programs to get food into the homes of our neighbors and friends in Ontario and in Toronto. So foodshare.net, if you go there, is a place to go to support our families and one another in this time of need. And I wish you every strength and much courage tonight as you go forward and into the new week. And ETT will be in touch. I will continue to send you updates, and we will be in touch through the website, through brieflies, through announcements, and perhaps again through a forum that is a video platform. So thank you, and all the best for your week. Bye-bye.